Game over. It is game over.
Game over, cancer. I'm Val Solomon, Director of Program Impact at Cannonball Kids Cancer Foundation.
And I'm Dana Nichols, Executive Director of CKC.
Game Over Cancer, a podcast dedicated to exploring conversations about pediatric cancer research, solutions, and inspiring family stories.
We're a nonprofit dedicated to creating innovative treatment options for kids fighting cancer and educating for change.
By creating a space for these conversations, we empower the community to take action and provide tangible hope.
Game over, cancer. Screw you, cancer. Today's episode is all about how old we are. Experienced. See, the thing is, we've been working with some fantastic interns.
Yeah.
And whenever that happens, one, you can't help but go down memory lane.
Mm-hmm.
And two, you can't help but figure out the times they are a-changing. That's a quote from someone I just made it up. But all to say, taking on interns can be a lot of work, but their energy is so refreshing. It allows us to nerd out about nonprofit, which is one of our favorite things.
It's one of our favorite pastimes, but it's also a wonderful reminder of how long we've been in the business, too.
Yes.
So, highs and lows.
Highs and lows, but a lot of highs when we have very curious and eager and just brilliant interns coming in, which is what we've had this semester. And so we're going to talk to one of them about their experience.
Yes.
And I think also for us, it's very, very important that we take every chance we can to show best practices, to talk about how we do things right and minimize burnout or some of those like traps we've found ourselves in through the years of nonprofit. Right. So when we get to work with someone and set some standards from the get-go as they launch their career, that feels really good.
That's right. Because as you'll find as you listen to this episode, we have been very fortunate to have wonderful interns working with us. And when you have people that are bringing empathy and authenticity and, a fire and passion for the work that they want to do and the purpose that they have in your organization, we need to, as leaders, help protect that because that is going to launch the next generation of wonderful leaders. So,
yeah, absolutely. So please take a listen to our episode today. This is one of our interns who signed up for another semester. We absolutely adore her, and we think you will too.
So our guest today attends the University of Central Florida for her undergrad studies in advertising and public relations. She's a member of Quotes in Orlando, the student chapter for the Florida Public Relations Association. And she coordinated the event Intern Pursuit to match students with internships. And that's how we met her.
Yes.
And now she is CKC's intern.
Second semester.
Semester. That's right. And she manages our social media. So when you see any clips of this episode, she will have written
She posted the caption.
She posted it. She scheduled it. She's brilliant. Yes. Please welcome Deborah Bello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you?
11, but it's okay.
11. Oh no, you're gonna be great.
It's a good nervous.
Okay.
You're outside of your comfort zone, and that's part of what internship even is.
That's right.
It's like doing new hard things in a safe environment.
That's exactly right. I love that. That's what we should lead with at Intern Pursuit next time too.
We'll have you on the podcast to do scary things.
Yeah.
Would that work? Well, we want to talk about a lot of things, and we love working with you. You are one of a kind. Also, we see a lot of that start of the road. I'm going to be a nonprofit. I'm going to go do the things with you. And we love that. So we want to talk about that first part of the journey of like why this is interesting to you and why you have an interest in nonprofit in general. How are you getting here in school?
Yeah, because you remind us a lot of us when we were your age.
People love hearing that.
People love hearing that. You just remind us so much. So tell us a little bit about what even led you to have an interest in nonprofit, why you felt it was a good fit for you.
Yeah, so a lot of things, but I feel like primarily I grew up with my mom and my brother, and I think we're Nigerian. My mom immigrated here from Nigeria, came to the US, raised me and my brother. And one thing in Nigerian culture is like a very strong sense of community, a very strong sense of it takes a village. And when one person has a problem, it really is everyone's problem. And I feel like I grew up with that. My mom always told me like if something affects somebody else, it's kind of your job in a way to understand it and at the very least be able to empathize and have compassion. So I feel like that always put me in the unique position to love nonprofits. And then as I got older and had to make decisions about career and stuff, it kind of seemed like the only option to kind of get on board with the nonprofit or something that's just really purpose driven. It always felt right to me. So yeah.
That's awesome. I love the idea of not just, recognizing that everybody is a part of a problem together, but that leads to action. Like you can be a part of the solution too. And so your action is maybe this is going to be what I'd like to do for my career as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
And I like the idea that nothing you're saying sounds like burden. Like being part of community seems very, anytime we talk with you, like everything you do comes from a place of joy and like curiosity. I like that idea. And that nothing you said was, I have to go fix all the world's problems on my own. It was very much about like, everyone comes together, everyone has a purpose to do something. And that's, I hope, something you've found that we believe in at CKC and really like is a really cool value fit.
Yeah, I have for sure. It's been amazing because it's like if only one person bears a problem, it's a burden. But if everyone does it together, then it's a problem, but we're all bearing it. It's bearable. So you can still move forward. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love it. I kind of want to go back a little bit to the very beginning, not quite intern pursuit, but just
when she was born.
When she was born.
Yeah.
No, not quite intern pursuit where we met you, but going back to the intern interview. Because what stands out in my mind from your interview was, one, you came with a notepad and you were prepared to take notes, and you did.
And had questions.
And then we were like, but do you have any questions? And Deborah said, actually, I do. Flip the page.
Yes.
And then she had written out questions that she brought to us, which I thought, really showed just how prepared she was to take her classroom in-class experience and education and apply it in the real world. So the question that we wanted to ask you is, was there a moment, or have you had a moment that made you really realize the difference between what you'd learned in class and then in practice and in real world experience through your internship at CKC?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I feel like in class, you're taught as much as you can take in whatever time is allotted. And I feel like in advertising PR, best way to kind of, I don't know, the best way to educate students is through businesses, like standard business, like you're selling a product or you're selling a service and you're like making a catchy caption or headline and you're trying to have that creative room and it's literally limitless what you can do. And I feel like I got that, I understood that, but when I got into the nonprofit space for real and I was able to work with CKC, that's when I felt like there was something, not a discrepancy, but I had to learn because I couldn't apply all the things I was taught in class directly copy and paste to CKC because it's different. You're dealing with pediatric cancer, you're dealing with not a product, you're dealing with children, their experiences, their family experiences. So I feel like it was really a learning curve to pick what I could from my classes and transform it into something that can be applied to the practice. To the nonprofit. So I feel like, yeah, my first day, I remember when Anna was working with us and our first day, that's when I feel like we were both like, whoa, like this is a little bit different. Like we have to kind of shift our mindset and how we approach everything. It's not just, like donate and give this, but it's like you're educating people on something that they're never really exposed to. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. And I know I've felt that way through the years, like trying to align my education, whether I'm in a business class, even for finance or something like that, and going, yeah, we're a business, we have finances, but wait, what? Like this part, the end goal is not make as much money as possible, so I go buy a boat, right? So I think this is that same thing of like, I've seen it through the lens of textbook and what appeals to a mass, and then I'm in this very niche thing. And I think when we find someone who's able to have critical thinking to carry it out, that's where we find someone who's like really ready to be successful in this space.
Right, because the reality is you could take all those things that you learned and apply it and then execute as though this mission was a product that you're trying to sell. And I think what we look for, it's like that, the almost like the price of admission to working in nonprofit is, does that feel weird? Because if that feels weird to treat the mission like it's a product, like copy paste, then probably you're on the right path to learn something and be able to execute things properly and with the type of humanity that we need to be able to tell stories like we do. And I think that was something that we could pick up on in the very beginning when we asked you to, help us with translating some of our impact and taking this information that we know that our researchers are telling us and sharing it with our audiences. And you just picked it up right away and asked for clarity when you didn't know exactly what to do. It was just a phenomenal experience to see you kind of jump in and make that leap from classroom to actual experience in the office was awesome to see.
Do you have some stories? Tell us some tales. No, about or just experiences with us or with the mission that have been really interesting or even unexpected, based on coming in and thinking this is how it goes, and then I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I feel like I always, whenever someone asks me this, I tell the same story. It's the mailers, like when I came in, I didn't know what to expect. I just knew I was gonna get into this mission hands on, and like I just knew everything was gonna count. Like that's something that was conveyed to me very early on, like no matter what you're doing. But I feel like the little moment to big moment that happened was in our midst of like the gala prep season, and we were folding those thank you mailers, and then people actually got them and were receiving them and were appreciating them. And to me, it was like, oh, I'm just folding this and putting it in this envelope and passing it to Val to put into this stuff. I didn't think anything of it, but it did contribute to impact. It did make a difference. And I felt that. And even when we were preparing for gala, there's all these little things like these little social media posts and putting these sponsors on this page and like, putting together Mr. Potato Heads. And like, it just seems like so little. And then you go to gala and it's this whole experience where people can really act on their feet. Because you have when you're exposed to this mission and you learn about it, you have a lot of feelings. Like, and sometimes you don't know where to place those feelings because you feel like you're stunted in an action because it's like such a big problem. What is one person going to do? But then you go to gala and everything in the room is set up so people can act on that passion that they feel that's stored up through all these months. And it's amazing. I feel like that was like my moment where I was like, whoa, like this is actually something that I'm part of, I'm doing, and I enjoy. So that's kind of, yeah.
That's so cool because I feel like that really is, there's parts of our year where if you were going to take a snapshot of what we do and see the impact, you saw that during that semester because you're seeing all the work going into this one time in one space event where literally months of work is culminating. And we have talked about this on the podcast before that if you're at an event like the gala and it seems to go off without a hitch, it's because every moment of it was planned and practiced. And we don't know all the work sometimes that goes into something very public. And I love that you all got a chance to see that. And I think that's something that, I hope that we spent time supporting you on to be able to see what little decisions we're making now and how they kind of compound on each other all the way up through something so moving as raising $304,000 in one day at a gala, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think of gala, do you have any moments where you're like, ooh, I'm really into this, or that I'm seeing it all come to life and this is really exciting?
Yeah, I feel like when we got there and I saw the setup, I was like, oh my gosh, like I know what that is. Like I know when we did this. And I feel like it was like really exciting for me. I think I also really liked seeing, because I remember when we were in office and we were just going through the run through what everyone was gonna say, and I could imagine it as best I could, but I didn't know where to place it in my brain. I didn't know what it was gonna look like in my actual experience.
Yeah.
So to like go up there and just see like for example, you speaking and like about the mission, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that sounds familiar, or like that's kind of my day to day, or like those things being acknowledged was really, 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 really special for me and exciting, because it even brought my whole semester to life. Because up until that point, we're working, I'm seeing the value of it, I know it's doing something, but it's kind of going into like the abyss of gala. Like it was just, gala was an abstract concept
That
to
is
me.
so
That's totally
accurate.
fair.
Yeah. And then I go and I was like, oh, gala, like this is what
Mhm.
we're doing, potato heads. Like,
Yes.
I
You know
don't know,
what's
I'm
so
always like,
crazy is I think I remember just walking past you and something was going on and I heard Deborah go, oh, like, oh, I see it now.
even the baskets, I was like, I like, you know what I mean? Like I put that's Dana's bowl that she made, or I was like, this is going, someone's receiving it and so excited at the end of the night. That was another great thing, is like the gift baskets, and people bidding on them and getting them, and people being really excited to receive this thing, and like it was put together in the office. Like it wasn't like a machine that did it. It was the TKC team, and it was really special for me. So
I love
I
that.
think she's got the nonprofit bug.
Yeah. If
Right?
you thought it was good.
Yeah. We talk about that with people, whether, you're an employee or just new to nonprofit and you're kind of in the middle of that, pre-event. It's usually pre-event, right? Just because there's so much work that goes into events. But there's always a point where it's very, very hard. And people look at you and are like, how do you do this?
Yeah. Or why?
Why do you do this? Like every year. And, there is the moment on the day where you just look at each other and you're like, man, this is it. This is why we do all this stuff. And it seems like you caught a little bit of that.
yeah, for sure.
So speaking of that, what are you thinking now in terms of your long-term goals? Are there things you want to dig deeper on? Like something that you experience at CKC that you're like, oh, I kind of, whether it's with us or in another internship, but you're like, that's fascinating. I didn't know that happens. Do you have something that now that you've been exposed to it, you'd like more experience in it?
I mean, there's a lot of things that interest me in CKC that I feel like in going forward professionally, I have to have it in my job description. I feel like one thing is like I always am gonna see myself working somewhere with like purpose. Like I know we've talked about it before, like, and I mentioned it earlier, like purpose driven work. You can give me numbers and like okay, but like I need a mission to get behind, really, to feel motivated in doing the work. So I feel like one thing that I really appreciated was the stewardship and the educating for change, because I feel like people forget that when it comes to nonprofit, there's a issue, there's a mission, there's a way you reaching a solution, reaching an improvement on something, and it's not guaranteed that everyone's educated on what you're trying to get behind. Like not everyone's educated on the realities of pediatric cancer. Like I wasn't, for sure, and I feel like that whole educating for change and really putting effort into making people understand what's really going on so they can support something fully, because you can't really support something fully if you don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that aspect was something that really intrigues me. Like how can we get people engaged? How can we get people to understand like this is something that's worth your time to be educated on? And the more you're educated on it, the easier it is for the community to get behind it. And then also like the stewardship, like taking care of how donors, how people who invest in CKC feel and understand like the impact they're having, because you can get behind a cause, and if you feel like you're having no impact, then it's really hard to keep that stamina going. But even like taking care of that aspect, I never thought of that, like, oh, people who invest in something, like in the long run, like they want, even if it's like, for example, like you mentioned, like a card, like they want to feel part of the mission. So I really want that to be something that I see or continue to experience throughout my career, is stewardship and definitely educating for change in some way.
I love it. I love everything about what you said.
I think, though, one thing it leads us to, which is the more you know about what we're doing, that means really the more difficult stories you've heard, the harder some of those emotional touch points are. How have you dealt with some of the difficult conversations and topics in our mission?
Honestly, it's just taking it one day at a time. I feel like sometimes you hear these stories and it's just, you feel heartbroken for these families, but like that's nothing compared to what the actual families and children are going through. So it's like, I think for me, one thing I learned is kind of like what we were touching on earlier is, to me, this is hard, but this is something like, as someone who's part of the community, as someone who cares, I need to know about this. It's actually a blessing that I get to learn about these children's stories, because they're a gift. Their fight is not in vain. Their fight is causing so much change, and their stories are causing so much change. And I should want to know about this, even if it's difficult to know. And then also, I feel like moving forward, like I said, just taking it day by day. Like, I can't take on everything at a time. But if this day I'm hearing about this child's story and their family stories, and it's fueling my ability to write these captions or make these social media posts, or just it motivates me to take on the next intern day, I feel like it's worth it. And that's kind of how I take it. And I take these stories as my fuel. They're my inspiration for doing what I do as an intern. And they really keep me grounded in the mission. So that's kind of how I view it, even when they're really difficult to hear about sometimes.
We've been so fortunate with the interns that we've had. And I think that Deborah is a wonderful example of the type of empathy that people can bring to this mission and to their work. And it's just been so wonderful. And hearing it, it's great now. Like, you know, I think even when we do intern assessments and stuff, like we sit there and we're supposed to like evaluate you and everything. And I mean, you do a great job, you contribute. Like our work day is easier because you're, you know, helping us do the things that need to be done. But to hear a conversation to hear somebody say that they have been impacted and it's helping them to ground themselves in what it is they want to do with their purpose-driven job and their career is so rewarding. And I'm just so thrilled that we were able to meet and match up.
Yeah, 100%. We're really lucky. You've had some time to peek behind the curtain, right? Like Wizard of Oz, who's back there.
I just got a vision of you like working all the wheels.
Is
like
what I do. Is I'm that guy.
There's steam coming out.
The great and powerful Oz. Now that you've heard terrible metaphors about behind the curtain, what do you think? Like going in, just what's so different about philanthropy than you thought about purpose-driven work, as you keep calling it? Going from I'm stepping through these doors to now.
Okay, I still think it's amazing. I still love philanthropy. I feel like my expectations of it were high, like what philanthropy looks like in the office space. But I feel like when I joined CKC, I feel like it's been elevated in so much ways, because I know that philanthropy can take so many more different forms. I guess not just the way I viewed it or the box I had it in, but anything can contribute to the cause. So I feel like that's something that's been really special for me, is seeing the different ways that CKC takes on this mission and like carries it out day to day. I feel like that's been something that's been really awesome, and kind of has like broken my traditional expectations of what does it look like to get people behind a cause, or what does it look like to get a community behind this one thing or this one event that's going to contribute to the cause for CKC.
I keep wanting to make a joke, which is, do you have questions for us? Like I almost expect
we
that you, in this portion of the podcast, we're going to talk about Deborah's questions.
Yeah, you want to get us on, and you want to get any answers on the record while we're here?
I mean, literally though.
Sure. If you really do, let's do it.
No pressure. If you don't, you don't. But yeah, do you have any questions for us?
I mean, you guys have been very gracious to answer all my questions. There's always a list. So I don't have anything at the moment, but yeah.
Well, awesome. We'll wrap up this episode then, yeah? We will keep talking to you because you're interning with us all summer long, and we love that.
I can't wait to see the captions you come up with for this.
This episode, blah, blah, blah.
This is the best episode.
Yeah. But I think you've nailed it. The reason we educate for change, the reason we move our mission forward, the reason we are here is so that kids have a chance at life-saving treatments, at a better quality of life. And we want survivors that thrive. And if anyone out there listening wants to be part of the research that makes that happen, they can go to our website, make a gift, learn more about what we do, follow us on social media, see what Deborah is going to do, and go to cannonballkidscancer.org.
That's right. There's a lot of different ways to get plugged in. You've taken one step by listening to this podcast. We'd love you to share it and also write a review. This all helps us do more in educating for change about pediatric cancer.
Absolutely. Thank you for tuning in and making a commitment to be part of our fight. Until next time, I'm Dana Nichols.
And I'm Val Solomon.
And we will CK.
See you later. Join us as we transform fear into courage and turn adversity into opportunities for change.
If you want to be involved in the conversations that create change in the world of pediatric cancer, take a moment, share, like, and subscribe.